The rise in isms, shaming, and cancel culture, and how a simple conversation between me and my wife led to a national conversation. Let's.
I said, got me some I don't wanna get attached. Word, I swear it ain't no going back. Once I get you my heart, you better keep that shit inside. Take me back. You want me?
What's up, guys? And welcome to Tears' World. This is a very special edition of Tears' World. So yeah, what's up, everybody? As always, I am one third of the Podnas, your boy Tiz, and today I am joined with probably my most special guest ever. This guest is very special to me. She holds several degrees. She's a former administrator, a master teacher, a master mother, a master wife, a master friend, the master entrepreneur, a master curriculum creator. She's a CEO, but most importantly, she's my best friend and my wife for life. Please join me in welcoming my wife to the show, Claudine.
Okay, that was so nice. Did you write
I did. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything.
that?
You
Was so
know
sweet.
me. You know me. I'm better in text format. So yeah. But so the purpose of me inviting my wife today is we often have really cool conversations like offline in our house that often when even when we disagree, like often pushes me to my thinking and my perspectives. It gives me something to look up, some type of knowledge, or I leave like seeing things in a different way. So I thought it was cool. Recently we were discussing a Drake lyric. We often like listen to music and then like discuss and analyze the lyrics and just talk through the format of the songs. It's kind of our like nerdy, quirky thing that we do together. But in discussing the Drake lyrics on his recent album, he had a Meg Thee Stallion line that had me really pondering after our conversation. So I wanted her to join me today in kind of recreating our original convo, as well as expounding upon the larger conversations that I kind of thought of based on that conversation. So the way today's show will flow is I'll give the backstory on the Meg situation for people who may not know. I'll give the context around our perspective that we gave when we had our conversation, and then I'll let her give her perspective and elaborate on it. Then I had some questions and topics that I wanted to get her thoughts on. So after we discuss the topics, I'll then go through the chat, highlight any great questions or points that may have been posed by the pod squad, and then I'll allow me and my wife to respond to those, and then we'll allow you guys to enjoy the rest of your Sunday. So we're gonna try to keep this at a tight hour. You know, I like to do things kind of concise. So let's get into the situation. So um, a couple years ago, Meg Thee Stallion, around May and June of 2020, Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion were reported to be in some type of a dating relationship. Then in July of that year, they were leaving a party allegedly thrown by Kylie Jenner, and Tory, Meg, and some other person left the party. And at some point, police were brought to the scene because Meg's feet were seen to be bloody. At the time, it was a lot of different stories coming out because it wasn't really clear reporting. So it was thought that her feet had been damaged by glass from a broken car window, but then later it was confirmed that Meg had indeed been shot in her feet. Um, Meg then alleged that Tory Lanez was the shooter. From there, the rap community chose sides or they stayed out of it completely. People like the Baby were accused of not standing by Meg when they did songs with Tory, and to this day, Tory says he's innocent, while Meg maintains that he is in fact guilty. Recently, though, Drake had a line. He's familiar with both artists, and he had a line in the song called "Circle Local" where he said, "Shorty lying about shots, but she's still a stallion. She ain't even get the joke, but she's still smiling." Now, to me, when I heard the lyric, I initially just went to it being a typical hip hop, you know, kind of thing of using wordplay and a well-known current event to make a hot line. My wife had a different perspective that is why she's here today, because it was very different than my own, and it caused me a lot of thought. So, Claudine, can you share your perspective of what you had when you heard the Drake line?
I will say this. I did not hear the Drake line without some extra seasoning on it, so to speak. So,
Come closer to the mic, babe.
sure. You know that I'm an avid social media user. I am known to be on a few platforms, but I think my favorite is IG. And so, as a follower of a few blog pages, they were already, commenting on this album drop. It, had a big hype around it. They had a lot of promo, 21 Savage and Drake. And so when they dropped it, there's always those people who are cutting edge. They listen to the album the first night, they're posting tweets about it, they're giving a review. And so on those blog sites, right, people had already listened to Circo Loco and made the connection to Meg Thee Stallion. So when I downloaded the album, I was apprehensive. I was like, okay, what this black man about to be saying against this black woman? I think I already went in with that concept. And so when I listened to it and heard that line, it was very easy to then continue thinking it was definitely about her. And I think anytime somebody goes out of their way to attack a black woman as a black woman, I'm like, that's not cool. I don't like how that came across. I don't like how that landed. And as of late, there has been a frequent uprising of what looks like black men in the media not standing by black women, or when they are harmed, making traditional misogynistic excuses. Well, she deserved it. What was she wearing? How was she behaving? How late was she there? Rather than, oh, this woman was sexually assaulted and she was actually harmed. So I think, all of that pretense kind of, for sure, in retrospect, led me to listen to the album with a bit of, like glasses on, so to speak. And for sure thought the line was about Meg. And so with that being said, it felt like just another slap in the face to black women where someone is taking what is really a tragic situation, a horrific situation, allegedly, and making fun of it. And her becoming once again like a joke on the internet with, if it was your daughter, if it was your sister, and she was out with a dude and he shot her, that's wild. Like, that's absolutely wild in any context. But I think sometimes because certain celebrities are perceived a certain way, they're not given that grace to be human. So my take on it initially was, why he got to be talking about this girl in that way? I will say it's changed a little bit since, and that is only because I am a lover of music. I love to research, like, where did the song come from? What was the studio session like? Like, if there is information we found out about a song, I want to understand it more deeply. And so Little Yachty, who co-wrote that particular track, came out and said, like, I wrote that line. It had nothing to do with her. And it could be that said line has nothing to do with her. I just think it was one of those things that could go either way. And because so many people hopped on that train and said, yes, this is most definitely about her, I think, it led to this battle of the sexes, so to speak, online. And it's been a continued battle with Meg's case. So I hope that, like, answers the question, and paints enough color and context as to why I may have thought that initially. And it might still be about her. I think really at this point, like, Drake would need to say something, and we know he is not often one to come back and, like, just play around in internet fodder. So yeah.
Absolutely. I don't really care for Drake as a personality per se anyway, so I do appreciate your perspective, but I think the fact that you even went to that, I think it paints a picture around the larger national narrative that my kind of brain went to after our conversation of how a lot of situations immediately get painted with, like, the label of it being sexist, racist, misogynist, fat shaming, homophobic, immediately. And I guess my question is, or just like, I wanted to get your thoughts from a female perspective, because me and Face and Pat often have these type of conversations, but you get three dudes that hang around each other all the time talking. It can be like an echo chamber. So what do you think makes us apply these labels so quickly now to situations, like, without us ever considering the situation could just be a situation between two individuals?
So I feel like we are at a time in society where, like, discourse is lacking. People don't genuinely know how to talk to each other, talk with each other. They don't know how to respectfully disagree. And I think because of that, the human brain is always looking to make meaning of something. So if I hear something and it sounds like a thing, it's easy to label and categorize it. But I think the harm in that is we prejudge people. We make assumptions. I know I try to seek to understand before labeling anyone an ism. It's a heavy label, and it could genuinely be a misunderstanding. But you only get to uncover those things through dialogue. And I feel like we're at a point where when people disagree, it's, I don't like you anymore as a person. I think you are bad. And we need to move away from like this good person, bad person. That we can disagree and you still be a good person.
Right. I definitely agree there. In your opinion, what makes like what is the tipping point, or what is the line at which a situation that may be these two people had a falling out, or these two people disagree, or somebody is saying something that is medically accurate, or somebody is saying something that is a statement of fact about a person? When does it become that line of, okay, now it is anti-Semitic, or it is racist, or it is now you are fat shaming? Like, what is that line, do you think? I know for me, I kind of feel like if you're not a person that believes the initial, I guess, fundamental belief that's behind those labels. So like if you're not a person that believes you're better than another race, then I don't think that your actions can be racist. I think they can be ignorant and sensitive. I think they could be a lot of things that can be dangerous if unchecked still, but I don't think that they necessarily lead you to be that. Same thing with like other topics, like recently with the anti-Semitic thing. Like I think if you're not a person that comes from a mindset where you believe that people of the Hebrew faith or the Israeli faith or the Jewish faith should be not here, or that you go against their policies, and I don't know that you can be that. You can be ignorant. You can be like, I believe that there are a lot of people who just kind of paint stuff the way they want to see it, but I think it has to be an intent thing. But what do you think is that tipping point of like, now it's that?
I don't know if there's a specific tipping point, right? I think I ascribe to the mindset of, like, I don't intend to do harm. So if I find out a person from another community is saying something that I'm doing is harmful, then I would want to adjust that thing, because I don't intentionally set out to harm other people, right? So somebody um, from an indigenous community said, "Hey, when you do this, it's actually harmful to my culture. It's harmful to my people." Then I would seek to understand and educate myself so that I am not creating that harm. I genuinely think it's up to the individual from that background to determine like what is harmful for them, because I'm not there. So how am I going to say that's not harmful to you? Just like as a black woman, when certain things feel discriminatory or racist, it's for me to say like that was problematic and here's why. But it's not for someone else to tell me, well, I disagree with you because it was fine by me. I'm sure it was fine by you. I'm sure it was fine by you. That's why we're in the situation now. But I don't know. I'm not one to also go around and label people and like, you're a racist. I think that kind of shuts down any type of conversation, whatever the ism is. I'd rather try to explore their thinking. Like I know when I'm confronting things that seem offensive or discriminatory, I love to turn it back on the other person and say, like, well, what did you mean by that? Help me understand your thinking. Unpack that for me. So rather than letting my mind do all the heavy work of assuming what their intent is, I'm going to seek to better understand, and then maybe I can classify them. But I also believe we're at a time where like there is not enough cognitive ability and like critical thinking skills being applied when people are just having normal conversations. Like people are highly emotional, people are highly polarized because of politics. Like even when it comes to just basic current events, like pop culture things, right? Back in the day, you could sit around and talk about whatever the latest like pop culture news was, and it wasn't like a life and death thing. But I feel like lately things are just so polarized, right? The issues that we're facing in society are so big. So racism, right? The Black Lives Matter movement, abortion rights. Um, they're so large and they're so embedded in so many pieces of culture that we discuss in pop culture. It brings in these challenging things, and then it leads people to get more emotional, and therefore not keep an open mind, therefore not have like constructive dialogue. So I think, you know, you've got people that in bringing it back to the original story we are talking about, right? You have this group of women who are on Med's side who've been writing for her. You also have a group of black men that have been writing for her, right? I know for sure like Bun B came out and stood with her, Mark Lamont Hill. I wrote it down so I wanted to be accurate. T.I., for what it's worth, Chance the Rapper, Michael B. Jordan.
That's a whole nother conversation about some isms.
Well, I said for what it's worth, okay? I tried to throw in that caveat. But there have been black men that have come out and spoken up for her, particularly those that are celebrities. I think what tends to be challenging is there's a whole camp of black men that anytime a black woman is going through a thing, whether it be the woman with the R. Kelly scandal, woman involved in the alleged Trey Songz scandal, um, there are black men literally blaming and shaming this woman. And so I'm not going to go as far to say it's an ism, but one might define that as misogynoir, which is a dislike or contempt for black women in particular. And it's just interesting. I don't see those same men go after a white woman or Hispanic woman or any other type of woman with the same fervor that they do black women. It's like we're gonna uplift these other women and put them on a pedestal, but these black women, these women of color, they don't deserve that same grace or that benefit of the doubt. And I'm thinking of more recently in a lot of the Me Too movement, and all the different cases that stemmed out of that. If it was a black woman, a lot of times there was more ridicule. White woman still got it too, because I remember Monica Lewinsky very vividly. But this is the plight of women, right? Particularly when you're speaking out about sexual assault or domestic violence, you're not believed. Your question is to like, what did you do to cause it? And then your sexuality is brought into it as if it's an excuse for someone to assault you or verbally attack you or harm you. So, yeah.
I'm glad you kind of went back into the gender piece because that's definitely a strong piece. Like we cover a lot of manosphere topics on our show, a lot of feminism topics on our show. So like that is definitely a thing that we run into a lot of. Like this is almost like a line drawn in the sand between women and men now, and especially black women and men, since that's obviously the community that we're a part of. So that's what we come in contact with most. But I wanted to ask, with that being said, this isn't on the original docket, but what you said just kind of sparked it in me. So with that being said, why do you think that there is a reason for like the recent rise in this fringe movement of men that are kind of dug in the sand, where it's not like they're judging case by case and holding men accountable when necessary and women accountable when necessary, but they're like, nope, every time the woman is wrong. Like what do you see that is right? I know I have an idea. I know there's an idea online, but I'm curious from a woman's perspective, what do you think is causing that?
I'm definitely looking at what a brother of a certain age said in the chat, and he said, it's like there's a gender war going on, and I'm like giggling just because it resonates with me. I'm like, there is definitely a camp of black men. Thank you. Thank you,
I want to make sure you heard, Queen.
There is definitely a camp of black men that are angry and hurt. And for me, I'm an empath. I'm like, oh, they hurt. Hey, who burned them? Well, who did that to you, baby? Because it's not natural to be that angry all the time. There is also a camp of black women who are very angry and scorned. And I feel like sometimes angry people are the loudest. And those are a lot of the voices that we're hearing on social media. Like, I'm happily in love. But we're not like posting our love story online every single day. I'm not.
I don't want everybody in my business. I'm scared of social media.
But like, we're not posting online about our love every day. We don't have like a couples blog. I barely post you, which sounds bad, but like,
I prefer it that way.
I'm like, that's number one. But secondly, like, what's real doesn't have to be acknowledged in ways that society deems it should be acknowledged. And I think sometimes because of that, right? Because people are happily off in love, they're not putting out the counter narrative to like black men and black women are at war.
They
right?
ain't posting the time because they already they're actually enjoying the time.
They're having a time, so they're not posting about the time. But because of that, you have a lot of single individuals who are hurting because they have been wronged in other relationships, right? And I feel like we're hearing a lot more of those voices on social media. I also think with the way blogs work, with the way these media outlet works online, like the trash sells. That's what people want to read. That's what they're double tapping. That's what they're sharing. And so it's saturated with that. And so those two camps are those loudest voices. And I think what's so interesting is like you'll hear the black woman say like, oh, I want a good black man, but there ain't none out there. And then you'll hear the black man say like, I love black women, but these women. So I think, if folks could acknowledge that, there are alternative opinions on love and we're not getting enough of those nest space. That's like one piece of it. But I also think the other piece is getting folks to realize there's probably a lot more in common between both of these like warring factions or
Mm-hmm.
sides. And if folks could just take some time and slow down and talk a bit more, they probably potentially found somebody on the other side. But we are in a very interesting time, and I think people are stuck in there.
Mm.
When that comes to relationships, when that comes to like changing for relationships, there's this mantra now of like, this is who I am, and just accept it, and oh well, love me for me. And while yes, like I think you should love people for you, as a couple that's been together for I'm the bad one at this, I should list that. 16 years. I was gonna look shows right. But for a couple that's been
8 and 8.
together for a really long time, we know that we both changed throughout this
Mm.
process. And it hasn't always been like, I'm changing for you, but like I've changed, I've evolved. I'm not the same person that you met at 21, 22.
Right.
And you're not the same person that I met at 23. And then we've also willingly made changes for one another. There have been times where I've asked things of you because like they were deeply important to me and vice versa. And I love you enough. And the ask was within, reasonable expectations that I've happily made those changes. So I think people have to recognize that in any relationship, it is two people like putting an effort to make it work. Um, and it shouldn't be 50-50. It should be like 100-100. We're both giving 100% to make this work. And sometimes that's going to require pushing and pulling and changing and growing. And when individuals are closed off to all of those things, it creates like a lot of what we have now, a lack of dialogue, a lack of conversation, and like probably a lack of growth for a lot of folks who want and desire love but aren't finding it because the way they're maybe approaching.
Mm. I love that you kind of led into my next topic. I love the way your brain is just kind of meshing with mine right now. Go you. High five. All right. So that actually leads me into my next thing. So like there's a lot of divisiveness, obviously, but like in looking for solutions, right? Um, what do you think as a woman that men could do to allow for these conversations that can bring the two genders together or the two sides of these different isms and stuff together as opposed to dividing? And like I definitely have some thoughts on what a woman could do, but I wanted to hear your perspective because this is something that we don't often get on our channel. Is like from a woman, what should men be thinking from y'all perspective? Like how could we make these conversations easier or more
Such a big
uniting?
question. I feel like one thing that men could do that would just enable women to open up more is ask more questions. Just ask more questions. And it's like really simple. But I feel like sometimes, have you ever heard of the concept of mansplaining?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the notion that like when a man understands a thing, um, he may over explain the thing to a woman, thinking that she may not know about the thing, but she in fact knows about the thing, and then she's listening to a lengthy conversation explaining something she already knows about, and she might try to interject and say, "I already know about that thing," but they keep going. Um, that is typically like a turnoff for most women because it comes from this place where it leaves the woman feeling like my knowledge isn't being validated in this moment. And so sometimes, even when you think you understand the underlying emotion or where she's coming from, by asking questions, that really helps. My therapist recently shared this concept that I thought was really neat. She was like, "It's okay to guess the emotion, but let the person know that you're guessing it. Like, hey, your brow's furrowed. You look upset. Is that right, or is it something else?" And so, like, you can still give some of your intention versus saying, you look upset. You always look frustrated when I come home. I'm tired of you always looking miserable, right? Like they have two completely different landings. And I thought it was really neat that she shared that phrasing of like, it's okay to guess the emotion, but by asking questions and seeking to understand more, you're going to open up more dialogue. And I don't
Mm.
know many women that don't like um, answering questions about themselves. I just think that's like a people thing. It makes you feel seen, it makes you feel heard. And in a society where women often feel unheard and undervalued, I think the more men ask questions and try to understand versus like impose what they may have been thinking, the better they'll actually get to know that woman and then be able
Mm.
to say, oh, what you were saying was, or oh, so you're one of the people that after you've heard them kind of explain, like, this is my point of view. But
Mm.
like when I look at social media, And men and women of color, like in the comments, they just be going at it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just the
Mm-hmm.
assumption of, oh, you're one of these chicks, or oh, you're one of these dudes, or you're, and then it's like the name calling, and it gets so nasty. And I'm like, oh, if you a
Correct.
woman scorned or a man scorned, and then this is where you're hanging out and like dating apps, I see why your perception may not be changing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I definitely your thought on what men could do is definitely kind of in line with what I think women could do. It's definitely based around like the way things are communicated. And I think that one of the biggest things that, well, you kind of get a leg up on this because you're a Capricorn like me. So like we both automatically, there's just kind of an innate thing in us to want to find the logic of something. So we kind of are wired to have that thinking. But I think a lot of the times with men, I think with women, they forget that men don't process information from the same lens. Like women can have more of a compassionate emotional lens, men can have more of a very cold and very logistics based lens of like A plus B equals C. And I think in these conversations, especially about isms and phobias, I think one thing that you do a lot of times that helps me to see a female perspective a little easier in our conversations is you come with facts over like, well, I feel like this, or it's because this is the way that is, or you don't kind of stick to the outliers, you kind of go to the generalities, which helps me to see it as a broader thing as opposed to, well, that's an outlier that doesn't count for everybody. I think you're very good at like bringing those figures and facts and stats, which as a male brain, it allows me to seep into it more, and it allows it to stick more, and allows me to be more receptive. So I think if men do what you said and like actually ask questions and don't assume that women don't know the facts and figures that we're about to present or the stats that we're presenting, and if women kind of lean into that, especially when they are knowledgeable and able to give those things, I think it'll help both parties kind of be more receptive to actually continuing the conversation as opposed to one side shutting down and then it becoming just a screaming match, or like online, like you said, the tennis ball where it's just back and forth, but there's no actual resolution. It just gets escalatingly more angry.
That's actually helpful. I think that's recent time to realize, like, when I would try to lead it, from my perspective, or maybe try to educate you on like, but this is how I feel about it. Don't you feel that way? You'd be like, no, I don't. I'd be like, oh, okay. And I used to get like probably angry back in the day when I was younger and pettier. But as I've gotten older, I'm just like, he's his own person. He's entitled to not feel the same way that I feel. But if I can better articulate like the facts about it, then at least we can have a logical, rational discussion about it. So I think that's just like wisdom and time. And now rather than trying to say, but this is how I feel about it, I'm going to say, well, here are some facts, right? So even again, back to like our main topic that we're kind of unpacking with Meg the Stallion allegedly being shot by Tory Lanez. I was looking up some data, and the CDC said that Black women are more likely to be killed by violence and more likely to be killed by an incident partner than white, Hispanic, and Asian women. So overwhelmingly more than any other race. This is the real fear that many Black women like leave their house with, and I think that's why sometimes they can be so frustrated and angry when they're speaking up online. I get it because I leave my house with the same fear. Like there are things that women do that I think other genders just don't always realize. Like if I leave the mall or a store late at night, I walk in with my key out. I probably already have 911 punched in my phone just in case. If I have mace, a taser, a weapon, it's ready. Like those are common, frequent things for women that many men don't have to consider. And so I think because of that common fear, because of the reality that we are being harmed more frequently than any other demographic, and because of the consistent online rhetoric that just drags Black women week after week, I think there is like this just group that's overwhelmingly angry. And I understand the anger, but I also recognize that nobody wants to talk to anybody incredibly angry. Like it's not comforting, it's not enjoyable. I can't even hear you. You might spit on me. Like I don't want to talk to nobody really angry. Do you?
No,
Right.
no, and spit on you is funny. I was just watching Judge Mathis the other day, and a dude actually did spit on his woman and,
Angry
and
people be
justified it. It
saying
was
when
it was
they
kind of
talk.
weird. But yeah.
They do.
Um, yeah. I think okay, there's several things that you said that I would love to unpack. I know one of them I think is almost a separate vlog
Like,
or a
you trying to
separate
get, like,
live.
a brother of a certain age. He said, "Well, y'all didn't have a couple."
Rodna, keep saying it, man, from your mouth to God's ears, man. It took me 2 years to
It
get
didn't
here.
take you 2 years. You asked me for the first time a
No,
couple weeks ago, and I said
no,
yes.
no. The first
No,
year
no,
I
no,
asked you
no.
and you were like, no, I don't know. No. But
That seems a little.
we're opening the door.
I mean, maybe I said that because
We're on
I
the
was
way.
more nervous.
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
say
not
it was a
afraid.
bad
This
a
is a
bad
lot.
thing that you said. No, I'm just saying that like now that you're here, I'm gonna keep leaning into, having this be a thing.
We'll see. I should make a rule. Like, if you get this many, if you get like 10,
What you not about to do is put me on no damn gold star
if you
chart
get
to
10
get you to
comments
come.
that say couples vlog, then yes. No, sorry.
Hey, no,
No,
hey,
no, no,
yeah.
no, no.
Hey, if this video
No,
gets,
no,
let me see,
no,
what's
no,
a
no.
good number for our little
I'm just,
channel? If this video gets 25
let's
likes
just enjoy the time.
and at
Let's
least
go.
5 comments that say couples vlog underneath that, post that beneath that, we will bring the wife back.
We have to agree.
Yes, Queen Tips will be back. Don't worry. Y'all help me wear her down there. Y'all know what to do. Come on, Pod Squad. Peace. What's up, last call? What's up, Rodna? As you've been here. What's up, Dr. Queen? Where? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all, this is my first time doing live. I am definitely that dinosaur. Like, what's that?
Men just walk around with that. So yeah, most men just walk around with that I wish a nigga would attitude. No pepper spray, no keys in hand. Yup, just attitude.
I've been walking around with the attitude,
Yeah.
but everything else, because I still wish would, but I know someone might, and so just okay.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all now, man. Let my attitude exude around her, cause don't do that.
It do.
Don't
I
do
feel
that,
very
cause
sorry.
it would be a big problem for the world. So yeah,
I feel very
you
sorry.
know,
In and out of it.
don't do that. Don't do that. Just know, I ain't always been this cultured. She done smooth some edges over these 16 years, but it's still there. Please believe.
Back to the.
Oh yeah. So back to the unity and stuff. Look at you. You're a producer now. You're a producer now. Come on now. I see you. We growing skills today, y'all. So this is just getting her more comfortable so that the next time, it'll be even smoother. And y'all keep on, like I said, 5 comments, 25 likes, couples vlog, put it down there. Let's get it going. Share this. But yeah, I definitely want to kind of end with the thought that if you are willing to have these conversations, like I think we can get to a point where instead of us beefing, we will actually get to a point where we can break through these barriers and actually like find some common ground and some compromise. Cause it ain't gotta necessarily be with like men or women or blacks or whites or Jews or Gentiles or whoever these groups that Martin Luther King listed so eloquently in I Have a Dream. Like the groups don't have to necessarily get everything they want, but I do think that it's important that everybody feel like comfortable. And if we're willing to have these conversations, I think that's the first step. I definitely have an idea for our second live already. So I'll be working on the docket, and I'll send you. I'll send you a calendar invite. Don't worry, I'll send you a calendar invite. No, I would do just like I did this last time. I will send you the calendar invite with the docket for your review before we even meet, and then we'll meet and we'll discuss and we'll go in. Y'all know how we do.
All of this is just for me. This is what he would normally.
No, this is how I do. Okay. Like this is just they know me by now. Like I show up to
this is my first time being asked, and now I am here. But according to Mr. Mao, whatever you go by here, according to you, you've asked me before.
I have.
Okay, well we here.
All right. So we're gonna keep on doing it. What do you say? You needed to be shaved down in culture, Dr. Ryder. Oh, I got you, Doc.
Don't we all?
That's the knuckle up move.
That's what a good woman would do, though. A good woman will enhance your life.
That is right.
Yeah.
No, I will say that. Like I tell y'all all the time, I was a hot ass mess. And yeah, she is definitely the catalyst to a lot of my growth. And that's okay, man. I still, yeah, and I like ham sandwiches, you know what I'm saying? So it's all good. It works. But yeah, man, that's pretty much all we had. I definitely appreciate y'all showing up and showing out and giving us some views here, man. And hopefully, man, if you watch this on replay, if you watch this live, if you watch this at any point down the road, please add to the conversation. As always on this channel, these are conversations that I'm having, but we want these conversations to become a larger one, and we can only learn by hearing other perspectives and seeing other people's point of views and highlighting them. So comment below, what did you think? What do you think the rise of isms comes from? What do you think? What did you think about the Meg and Tory line that Drake spit? What did you think about our different perspectives and how we see it? What did you think about our solutions to actually having good conversations with each other and growing, as opposed to deviating and being divisive? Let us know down below. Do you have anything that you want to say to the people before we peace out? Yeah. And if y'all ever wondered why, despite all of the craziness around us in this world, why I always show up and I'm always pretty jovial and chill, this is why. It is hard to be that upset at anything when you go to sleep beside this every night. So yeah, man, thank you for joining me today, wife. I appreciate you kind of adding the beautiful. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You know what's funny about tipping? I'm gonna just say this.
He is the big tipper. You are the big
She had
tipper.
to stop me because I used to be like, okay, so y'all know I come from a background of, before I was smoothed out, I come from a background where I was used to having large amounts of money at a lot of times. So I would go to restaurants and I'd be like, well, whatever the bill was, just give you half of that. That's your tip. Like, I was crazy with it. And she looked at me one day and was like,
heard of the word budget.
what the hell is wrong with you? That's a bill. That's a trip for us. You ain't about to leave this bitch nothing. Like, you know, what is 20%? Let me get the calculator. She was not playing it. It was at Longhorn.
A 50% tip. And I was like, does he know this waitress? Have they been talking?
Nope.
Is he paying rent? Like,
nope.
I was deeply concerned.
Regular service.
I'm joking.
It was just not bad service.
But I was also like, have you been leaving these tips around the town in this manner your whole life? And he was like, yes, I have. And I was like, we won't be doing that anymore. We'll do 20% because that's standard. And that's the top of the standard. And if it's exceptionally well or the holiday season and you want to throw a blessing on it, cool. But beyond that, roll it back, partner.
Yeah, she had to get my spending. I was very loose with cash. Like, to this day, my relationship with money is very different than most people. I'm very much hippie. Like, it's just a tool, whatever. You know, it ain't really that deep. I don't care. I ain't gonna leave with it. But she's definitely grown me a lot in the financial space, because otherwise we would probably be homeless. I'd be happy as hell, but we'd be homeless as hell because I'd be making it rain at wherever we go. Like, oh, we had Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, y'all did such a good service with them munchkins. Let me give y'all an extra 20. Yeah. Yeah. Now just make it rain at the house on her, you know, which is a lot more efficient, and it keeps the bills paid, you know, when the money stay in house. But yeah, tip $5 on 150.
She said she also.
Yeah, get him right though, Doc. That ain't it.
He was cheap with the tip.
I mean, cheap. Damn. Like, did they burn your food? Did the dude drop it and then give it to you? Like, what? Damn.
No, he thought he was doing good. He was a cheap tipper. He was tipping like, that's like
dollars. That's like, what is it, 1960? You can't do, what is that?
But you know, until you have discussions about these types of things, you don't really know. So, you know, I'm
good job, Doc. I'm glad you got him right. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
You just had to open his wallet a little bit wider.
Yeah, man. Tell him don't do that.
That's all.
Don't do that. What's a tip? Hey, man, look, as a person who's formerly worked in the service industry, man, I'm going to tell you, them tips, like, people be thinking that you balling, but them tips really do be making or breaking whether or not you're going to be good that month. It determines whether you're going to have noodles or at least some bologna to go with the noodles, so, man. Like, it's.
My husband and I were both servers. That's how we met.
Y'all know the story.
And it is so important that you tip your servers. Here's a fun fact. You know how much the average server makes in this country? $2.37. $2.37. You know what's wild? I think that's what we made 15, 16 years ago when we met. And
it might have been it was $2.13.
Okay, ready? My baby cousin is a server. I just went on a hike with her the other day. I said, what you doing right now? She said, oh, you know, I'm working at whatever restaurant it was. I said, what you making? She said $2.37. It's gone up 20
Hey, man, they
cents.
got that good quarter, man. They went up a quarter.
Stop it.
I mean, 22 cents. That's almost a quarter. They balling.
Tip 20%. At least make it to the 10.
Yeah.
If you can't tip 10, you just don't need to go out.
Man,
for real.
I tell you this,
And
man.
okay
If you can't
sometimes.
tip, go to fast food. Just go to fast food. It works better. it works, but don't do the server like that. Like if you're gonna go to a restaurant where you sitting there and there's somebody taking their time to bring the food to you, do something, man. Minimum wait. Damn.
And that's how much the servers ain't even getting that. So you
Yeah,
gotta
tip folk, man. Tip people, man.
Now, if they just take your order at the cashier desk,
that extends to Uber. Cause like I do Uber
yeah,
Eats on the side sometimes for a little extra cash, right? And I'm telling you, I won't even pick it up if that shit don't look right as far as the calculation. So I'm telling you, you are decreasing the amount of drivers in your area if you don't tip well. Because we do get to see how much that drive about to be worth. But you got to put in, when you put in your order, it always asks you what your tip gonna be. So you can see, so you know, like if the delivery fee around this area is average $2.99, you know if that shit say $5, this person ain't tipping but $1.50 on this trip, and this trip is a 50-minute ride across town to give you a cup of coffee, your latte. Man, you better kiss my ass. You better put some ducats on it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, y'all. But tip your people, man. Tipping is important, and people need that money, man. People pour out here. It's a private, yeah, not too much and not too little. In the middle. Kind of do it like Goldilocks.
All right, good people.
Yeah. All right. But as always, man, I've been 1/3 of the Podnas. I've been your boy Tiz. This has been my wife, Claudine. And as always, man, please like, comment, share, subscribe, join in the comments below with your comments and your conversation, and share this with somebody, man. And hey, if you're out there and you're already subscribed, that's where you can help the channel right now is take one of our playlists, put it in the background on a tab that's on mute, and just let it play. Watch time hours are crucial right now. We're really trying to get monetized. We got the subs, but we need the watch hours. So help us out with that. Share this with your friends if you think it'll resonate. And yeah, make sure you comment down below. Couples vlog. We need 5 comments and 25 likes on this video so we can get her back on. And yeah, man, we about this thing.
I'll share him anytime, Dr. Mickey. I'm glad he makes y'all laugh.